Is the PS5 shortage finally ending? Sony's about to focus on mobile in a big way. 2 huge PC ports just leaked. We now know how many PS5s have been sold, and we also have the new June PS Plus games that you can go download right now. This is a jam-packed pre-summer Games Fest episode of PlayStation News, and if you've never watched one before, basically I take the 5 biggest news stories from around the internet and deliver them straight to you so you know everything there is to know about PlayStation. And before I jump into it all, I want to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by me. Yes, I have so many links down in my description for any PS5 accessory you might need. So starting out, let's talk about mobile games. I know, everyone's favorite thing to talk about, especially after the insanely terrible launch of Diablo Immortal. I mean, I'm not surprising anyone when I say that mobile gaming is not in a great state right now, but unfortunately for us gamers who don't like spending a ton of money on microtransactions, there is a ton of money to be made in that field, and it seems like Sony is diving all in. They've actually dipped their toe into these waters a few times back at the launch of the PS4 generation. They launched a weird puzzle game in the Uncharted universe. They had a game called Sackboy Run, which was a riff on Jetpack Joyride and those endless runner type games like Temple Run. And if you played these games, you could get rewards in the actual PS4 counterparts, which was kind of cool. I don't know. I never really got too into it, if I'm being honest. And now they're dipping their whole leg in the water, I guess, is like a weird analogy that I'm going to use, because they're taking their IP like Wipeout and they're making full-on mobile games out of it like Wipeout Rush. And honestly, they haven't been too successful. But looking at Diablo Immortal and separating the microtransaction aspect of it, the way that game works like as a video game is really cool, and it's gotten people thinking that maybe Sony is taking notice and they might be making their own mobile versions of their biggest games that aren't like tailor-made free-to-play mobile game garbage. Like, can you imagine the PSP version of God of War running on your phone? That's kind of what people are getting at. Or maybe even a full-on port of something like God of War 2018, which sounds crazy, but it could totally happen. I mean, you have stuff like Apex Legends completely running on phones now. We know Bungie, Sony's newest pickup, is working on a mobile version of Destiny 2. There's mobile PUBG, there's mobile Call of Duty. Sony's got to be looking at these studios and saying, if we make a good version of a mobile game where we only monetize skins or something like that, it could be a really cool way to get people into the PlayStation ecosystem. Now, for me personally, I hate this idea. I am not into it. I don't think it's the way for Sony to go. I like keeping my phone as a phone, and I like having a separate game device for playing games. I wish they would just partner up with Valve and give people a way to earn trophies and download their saves through Steam by logging into your PSN account, or even, as much as I hate to say it, launch their own PC launcher. I think there's just so much utility there and so much untapped potential in terms of revenue, where if they launched their games at the same time and gave you a way to transfer your saves back and forth, they'd make even more money than the 100 million they've already made on these PC ports alone. Another avenue they could take, which would be super cool, is to look at what we have with the Razer Kishi and the Backbone controller, where it's like a slide out Xbox controller that you put your phone into. There is no reason why Microsoft should have the monopoly on these mobile controllers. They could easily create a split DualSense with the haptic feedback, with the great DualSense touch controls. I don't know how they would implement that, but they've already kind of done it with the Sense controllers they're releasing for PSVR. I mean, imagine taking those, just putting a little bridge in the middle and being able to connect your phone to it. And at the very least, that would make something like remote play from your PS5 awesome. It would make it a great experience. And as much as I hate how this game's monetized, I'm going to keep saying that, I did try out Diablo Immortal with a controller and it plays great. I just see Sony's untapped potential there with all their IP, where like, yeah, it sucks that they are going to focus on mobile games instead of making a new handheld or working with Valve on the Steam Deck. But if they are going to focus on mobile games, I want them to create some hardware to make it an excellent experience all around, because Sony, when they put time and effort into stuff, it actually turns out pretty good. The PSVR 2 looks like it's going to run laps around the Oculus Quest 2 from a visual quality standpoint. The Sense controllers are great. I mean, when you look at the PS5, the thing that people say is the most next-gen feature about it is the DualSense controller. So if they put some effort into making a sort of Joy-Con or controller phone grip type thing to make these mobile games play better, and then took their incredible IP like God of War, like Uncharted, like The Last of Us, I mean, the list goes on and on, Ghost of Tsushima, and figured out how to marry those two ideas together, I probably would end up playing mobile phone games from Sony. which is crazy to say. But yeah, I think if they're not working on some sort of phone attachment, they're crazy. I mean, even if it is just a phone controller that they have the PlayStation branding on, that's brand cachet they're taking away from Microsoft. I mean, if you look at the two options that people generally go with right now, even though they're not made by Microsoft, the Backbone and the Razer Kishi, when you look at the buttons, they're basically the Microsoft buttons, and that's nuts. I mean, it'd be so much better if it was the square, circle, cross, and triangle, because then if you're playing these PlayStation games on your phone, you think in that PlayStation mindset, and that makes you more likely to go buy a PS5 or these ports on PC and play more Sony games. I just think, honestly, as much as I hate to say it, Sony is leaving money on the table by just making these throwaway mobile games and not having any hardware to go along with it. But speaking of PC ports, it looks like Sony really is moving full steam ahead on these, which, you know, that's like no pun intended. So we allegedly have the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection to look forward to in June, so I could totally see that getting a release date at Summer Games Fest or one of these tertiary events. And then after that, it looks like we have Spider-Man on August 12th. But in July, I think there's a space being left open for two potential games. Sackboy: A Big Adventure, one I'm honestly a little less interested in, and the other one is Returnal. Look, I really like Returnal. I am a huge evangelist of that game. Having it on a console was really why I fell off of it, and just the idea of having it portably on my Steam Deck would make me so much more excited to play it, and thankfully, screenshots from Returnal have leaked. Yes, it was a Reddit thread about the Nvidia leak that basically leaked the next few years of games for pretty much every publisher out there, and Nvidia tried to say it's not real, but it's turning out to be real. Like, everything in it has lined up. Basically, every Sony port that was on that list has been announced, and some games like Spider-Man that weren't on that list have been announced, but we're waiting on Ghost of Tsushima, Returnal, and Sackboy: A Big Adventure. And someone in the thread replied with definitive proof that we are getting those two games. So we saw the settings menu of Sackboy: A Big Adventure and other things that show it's running on a PC, and we also saw the settings menu for Returnal and other proof that it's running on a PC. So as for when these games could come out, I really think Sony needs to shorten their PC release schedule. At first, it really seemed like they wanted to do one a year, and now they've kind of worked their way up to two a year. But if they want to get half their first party games like they say they want to on PC, they're going to have to start releasing these things at least every other month, or in my dream world, monthly. Like, as these ports are finished, just throw them up on Steam. They know people want them. People know these games exist because they had huge marketing cycles already, huge review cycles already, huge word of mouth already. I feel like you could just post Returnal is coming to PC on Twitter today, and then people would buy the game. They'd be pretty excited to do it. So yeah, while I am a pretty big Little Big Planet fan, I think the one I put the most time into was the Shark Escape levels on PS3, where it would be like a vertical stage and it would just be full of water and there'd be rafts and you would run left to right because there'd be a huge created shark that would come and try and kill you. And then after that, I played the Vita version so much. It was one of my favorite Vita games. I kind of fell off with Little Big Planet 3 and Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and I don't know, I'd be curious to try it on Steam Deck because it's a platformer. What I would really like to play on Steam Deck though is Returnal. It's a perfect game for portable play. It's a third-person shooter, super fast paced, based on doing runs, getting quick upgrades, and then doing it all again. I just want to put headphones on and play that in the smallest screen right in front of my face. It just sounds awesome. So to know that it's actually coming to PC, that's great. Next up, let's get Demon's Souls and Ghost of Tsushima. I feel like those games are two big omissions. And then after that, Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok would make great games. And then finally, Gran Turismo 7. We gotta take down Forza Horizon 5. That PC port is trash. It just needs to be said. So I don't think I need to tell you that it's been pretty doom and gloom lately when it comes to the PS5 shortage and not being able to get one. Between these chips being in such short supply because Microsoft is throwing down tons and tons of money to keep the manufacturing on their chips, and then scalpers buying up every PS5 as soon as it becomes available, things are pretty bleak out there. But there's a new system Amazon has come up with that I think is going to solve the issue for a lot of people. So if you go to the PlayStation 5 page on Amazon, there's a new button there where it says request invitation. And then if you click that button, it basically puts you into a pool of people where the next time the PS5 becomes available, you'll get randomly selected to be invited to buy a PS5. And that is a good defense against bots. You would basically have to create a new bot that can make multiple Amazon accounts or take multiple Amazon accounts that can request invites, and then it would have to wait for the invite email to come, go into the email, be able to buy the PS5. Like, it adds so many extra steps there and a few extra barriers. I'm sure they'll figure it out at some point because scalpers are pretty damn smart, but it's a good way to create some sort of defense so you have a fighting chance to actually get one of these things instead of just waiting for the pre-order time to come up and then having them all be snatched up by bots that are just faster than you. It's just the facts. They're faster than you, and that's why you're not getting a PS5. The big negative I see here is the pre-order system for the Steam Deck, where you would put down $5 last June, and then literally Valve goes in line from person to person, where it's like based on availability and what order your pre-order came in. That's when your order fulfillment comes up with the Steam Deck. So you could potentially be waiting well into 2023 to finally be able to order this thing. And yeah, it's a good way to guarantee that pretty much everyone who wants a Steam Deck is going to get one, but the double-edged sword there is it's going to take an extremely long time to fulfill all of these orders. And as far as I know, there has been virtually zero cutoff. Like, they're just letting that timeline keep growing and growing and growing. So it's theoretically going to happen on Amazon as well, because as in demand as the Steam Deck is, I don't think it's holding a candle to the PS5's flame. Like, the PS5 is like so mainstream, like everyone wants it. You're not only fighting bots, you're fighting like parents, you're fighting kids, you're fighting literally everyone who plays video games all at once. And that's what's making it so hard to get your PS5. So until Sony can figure out some way to make these chips more available, or to reduce the parts, or to use different parts on the PS5, I don't know. It's not my job to come up with the solution. It's just going to stay hard to get a PS5, and that sucks. And you can definitely see that taking effect with the PS5 having sold 20 million units, which is the next news story. That on its own is really good. I think the PS5, if it was more readily available, would be selling even more units. Like, these things are going as fast as they can be produced, so there's no reason the PS5 wouldn't be the best-selling console of all time. The problem is Sony can't keep up with the actual demand. And with the Wii, Nintendo did this in a tricky way, where they basically created demand by stockpiling Wiis and only releasing them in small batches, so that when eventually they did release them into stores and people would start seeing them just sitting on the shelves, they bought it because they had that internalized urge to buy it, because they didn't know if the next time they'd be at Target, it would still be there, right? Sony doesn't have that luxury. They are literally making and selling as many PS5s as they can. The big problem this causes is that the PS5 isn't caught up with the PS4 yet. And you can sit there and be like, oh, this is a win for Xbox. Like, the PS5 isn't selling as well as the PS4, but it's literally because they can't make enough PS5s. If they had made double the PS5s, they'd be at 40 million PS5s right now. Like, there's no doubt about it. And we've seen so many news stories over and over again that people are buying Xboxes because they can't get PS5s. And it's such a backhanded compliment for Xbox, because people are like, well, I walked into Target and I just want to play these next gen games, and what was sitting on the shelf right there was this totally underpowered Xbox Series S. So I'm gonna buy that, and I'm gonna use it in the meantime while I wait to buy a PS5. Like, that's what we're dealing with on the other side of the fence. But the fact that the PS5 has not managed to outsell the PS4 at this point is bad, because that's the biggest reason we're seeing so many games come out on PS4 as well as PS5. Like, they are holding back games like Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, potentially God of War Ragnarok, so that they are able to run on the PS4. And in some way, that's a good thing. Like, Sony's making sure that if you buy the PS4 versions of these games, you're not getting completely screwed with an unplayable, neutered experience. I feel like on the third-party side of the fence, that is not a guarantee in any way, shape, or form at all. But still, the fact that they even have to do that really sucks for the people who have managed to get a PS5, because this feels like a PS4 Pro Plus. It doesn't really feel like a full-on next-gen console. I have enjoyed a lot of the games I've played on the PS5. I've enjoyed a lot of the games that have come out this year, but thinking back to the jump from the PS3 to the PS4, it is night and day. It's crazy how much bigger and more expansive the games got on PS4 versus the PS3. And right now, I'm not seeing that leap. And that might just be me personally. I know it's totally subjective. There are a few games that have taken advantage of next-gen features, but as a whole, I think we're just getting PS4 generation games that look and run correctly at 60 frames per second and 1440p. Upscaled to 4K, not native 1440p, you know, because the PS5 can't do that. But the good news is, whether you have a PS4 or a PS5, you have one of the best PS Plus months in a long time, because God of War 2018 is being added to PS Plus. And I know you have had the opportunity to play this game for free multiple times. It was included in the PS Plus collection. It's gone on sale for as low as like 20 bucks, maybe even $10. But for those of you who skipped the PlayStation 4 generation or didn't play this game when it came out, you are getting a real treat, because I have been playing through this game again, and it is just like so much better than pretty much all of its competition. It is crazy how cinematic, well polished, well developed and just focused this game is. There is no bloat. It is just the story, the action, and the fun from start to finish. So if you've never played this game, please go add it to your account. And if you have a PS5, you are going to love it because it got the performance patch where it runs at 60 frames per second. There's tons of great loot. I cannot say enough good things about this game. On top of that, we're getting a game called Shinobi Strikers. Never heard about it. But we also got Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, which is like Super Smash Bros. With Nickelodeon characters. And I like that this game kind of goes in on itself a little bit, like Nigel Thornberry is in it. It launched a little rough. I remember people making fun of it, but it's gotten a ton of patches since then. And they just announced that voice acting is coming to the game. That was a weird omission, especially for the fact that these are Nickelodeon characters and they all have such iconic voices. Like SpongeBob not having voice lines, that's just weird in my head. It's crazy that Nickelodeon and Warner Brothers are both focusing on competing with Smash now that Smash Ultimate has kind of wrapped up its DLC. Warner Brothers has their own game, which is called Multiverses, which has Batman in it and all the other Warner Brothers characters like powered up Shaggy, like Super Saiyan Shaggy is in it. It's kind of fun. So if you want a cool new Smash competitor that's not really going to hold a candle to Smash's flame, but might be kind of fun with some friends on a Friday night, I would definitely check out Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. But yeah, I'm totally fine with these two games taking the sacrifice for God of War to be offered because that is a great game to get with your subscription to PS Plus. God of War is perfect for people who aren't subscribing to PS Plus Extra or Premium, and either way you should add it to your account because even though it is a first-party game and it'll probably stay in that game library forever, if they ever remove it, you can have that peace of mind that it's added to your account and you won't lose it.